ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a crash course in Mamelashon, which is a 4-week starter course in the Yiddish language. And my goal over the next 4 weeks is going to be to take you by the hand and bring you into the world of Yiddish. In other words, I'm not going to be treating this like a language course. I'm going to be treating this more like a tour guide. So I'm going to bring you into the world of Yiddish. If this was a language course, if you were in high school and you were learning this language from the beginning, we'd be starting at the beginning, building vocabulary each week, one after another. It would be grueling. Most of you would be sleeping halfway through because it would be high school, right? But that's not my intention. My intention is we will do a little bit of that. We will do a little bit of vocabulary building, but more importantly, we will dive into the world of Yiddish and we will experience the world of Yiddish and we will come out knowing more Yiddish, both on a technical level, vocabulary and grammar and all the good stuff, but also hopefully having a taste of the culture and all of that as well. Okay, so that's the goal over the next 4 weeks. It's intentionally structured as a 4-week course. Really, a Yiddish course should probably be 20, 30 weeks if we hope to gain anything really. But it's a starter course. I figured it's a nice, easy way for people to come. No matter what, you'll have fun for 4 weeks. You'll learn something over 4 weeks. And then after that, we can decide whether we want to do something more serious and what format we want to do that in. Okay? So that's kind of that's the intro that I have going. And now we can begin with all the real introductions. So first of all, I'm so glad you're all here. Raise your hand if the reason you're here is because someone you love, maybe from the past, spoke Yiddish. Maybe a Babi, a Zaidi. Okay, that's going to be a large portion of you, okay? Put your hands down. Raise your hand if the reason you're here is for academic reasons. You want to be able to access Yiddish academia. You could raise your hand. That's Menachem. Again? So that's academic reasons, yeah, okay. We have a few of those. Raise your hand if the reason you want to learn Yiddish is because of literature and plays and songs and things like that, like the Yiddish culture that you want to be exposed to. So also some of that. Okay. So this shows me that my feeling that I had was correct. So hopefully I catered the course appropriately. If not, you'll let me know.
Got to ask who wants to be fluent in talking to each other.
Oh, you're talking to each other in Yiddish? Yeah. Who knows someone who speaks Yiddish right now? That's alive.
You.
Besides from me. That doesn't sound. Anybody here know someone who speaks a fluent Yiddish right now?
Yeah.
Besides from me? Okay, a few people. Okay. All right. So is there anyone here that the reason they're here is because they want to be able to speak to them in Yiddish? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 2 or 3 of you. Okay. Yeah. I have news for you. Whoever that person is, they know another language as well. So you can converse with them in that other language if you need to. But yes, I'm getting a feeling for what's going on here. So welcome. This is a 4-week course, and each lesson is going to be 60 minutes, with the exception of tonight. Tonight should be about a 90-minute lesson, if I have my timing correct. So we should be done by close to 8 o'clock. And the reason for that is because we have a little bit of an introduction to cover first. Obviously, we need to learn about Yiddish before we can actually study Yiddish. If you didn't budget that amount of time, feel free, or if I just get boring, just feel free to get up and walk out. I don't take offense. I'm good to go. All right. Okay. In front of you, you have a handout. Does everybody have one of those? Okay. That handout has a couple things in it, but I'll guide you through it as we go through. If you take a look at the screen behind me, make sure you can see that screen. So today we're going to be doing lesson 1, which is the basics. All right. And I'm really going to spend a good 20, 30 minutes on an introduction to Yiddish. And then I'll spend maybe 40, 50 minutes on what I'm calling the basics of Yiddish as we'll get into it. And I want to start off by diving right into it and understanding what is different about Yiddish and every other language. And perhaps, Danny, that will explain why I didn't ask the question about whether anybody's here because they want to talk to someone else in Yiddish. Okay? So Jeff, if you can get us started with text 1, we're on page 2 in your handout when you're ready. So this is from, by the way, I should mention that I consulted quite a few books as I was building this course, and most of the time they're not going to get the credit. So let me start off by giving that credit right now. Rabbi Chaim, I think his name is Rosenberg. Give me a second. Maybe it's Werdeberg. Rabbi Chaim Werdiger has a fantastic curriculum called 10 Yiddish in 10 lessons. It comes with CDs. And if anybody wants to do this as like really learn the language, like just pedal to the metal, that might be a good thing to purchase. I'm happy to send out a follow-up email after today's lesson, and I'll link where you can buy that, etc. Okay. Another book that I consulted was Rabbi Benjamin Blech's Idiot's Guide, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Learning Yiddish. So, which is a very entertaining read. You will not learn Yiddish from it, but it's very entertaining to read if you'd like to read it. And it definitely helped me along the way with certain materials that I needed in order to get this done. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I definitely consulted Leo Roston's, why is the name of his book blanking? It's called The Joys of Yiddish, joy with the oi, right? So Oys of Yiddish. And then there is a little tiny handbook, which also could be helpful if you want, like more like almost like a pocket dictionary kind of thing, which is called The Easy Schmeezy Guide to Yiddish. So already we know that learning Yiddish has to come with a little side of humor. So for the most part, they're not going to get the credit as we go along, so I'm mentioning them all now. But as we open, I wanted to quote from a little bit from each of those introductions, because as we get introduced to the Yiddish language, I want to make sure that we understand that. So Jeff is going to read for us. Please, text 1, if you can, when you're ready.
Oy vey, it's about time. Okay. Languages are normally identified with a land. French and France, Spanish and Spain, Chinese and China are all inseparable partners. Yiddish, however, is different. Yiddish doesn't have a geographical home. Yiddish isn't defined by boundaries. Yiddish is a language created not for a country, but rather for a people. A Yid is another name for a Jew, and Yiddish is the way Jews learned to communicate with each other as they found themselves scattered to the furthermost points of the earth. Yiddish may, in fact, be the first international tongue, a language that recognizes no limitations of national borders and that freely considers itself a citizen of the world. To learn Yiddish is also like learning no other language. That's a promise I make to you as you set out on a project that I guarantee will bring you immeasurable reward.
Now, Rabbi Benjamin Blech wrote this at a time when there's no doubt in my mind that this statement was not really true, that Yiddish is an international language. It was in a couple of countries, wherever there were Jews that spoke Yiddish. That's where it was. But then the Lubavitcher Rebbe came around, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe spoke in Yiddish, and as a result, every single Chabadnik that grew up knew Yiddish. And then he went and he scattered those shluchim, those rabbis around the world. And now, literally, I can guarantee, I don't know how many people in South Korea speak Yiddish, but I know of one. I don't know how many people in Beijing speak Yiddish, but I know of 3. You know what I mean? Like, these are the Chabad shluchim, etc., who are all fluent in Yiddish. I myself, the first language that I spoke, to me, Yiddish is really a Mamelashon, a mother tongue. The first language that I spoke, I grew up speaking Yiddish. My parents were quite certain that I would pick up English very quickly, and sure enough, I did. By the time I was 3 or 4, I spoke English as well. But until the age of 12 in my home, between my siblings, between us, between our parents, we spoke only Yiddish. Now, we're going to talk soon about Yiddish and English creeping into the Yiddish, what today is known as Yinglish. But it was a Yiddish without doubt. The first question I want to ask is why? Why does Yiddish deserve to exist? Why did Yiddish even begin to exist? What was the purpose of Yiddish when Yiddish was created? Okay, so the first answer that everybody will naturally say right away is, well, a language for the Jews. And you can come at that in 1.5 million different ways, and different scholars do. Some people say it was more to shield themselves against the outsiders. We'll read more about that soon, whether it was the Crusaders or others. And then that need kept on repeating itself, that there were non-Jews who were threatening, or maybe who the Jews just wanted to stay insular. And so it was to protect them from the outside. Or maybe it was the opposite. Maybe it was kind of like a way of staying removed and staying aloof, whatever. Either way, Yiddish was the Jewish language. The reason I don't find that to be a sufficient answer is because I have another language that all Jews throughout all generations spoke. Anybody know what it is? Not Aramaic. I don't speak Aramaic. Hebrew. Right? Hebrew. We're getting to Ladino. We're getting there. But for now, Hebrew, right? Hebrew. And by the way, Hebrew is definitely above Yiddish and above Ladino and above Aramaic and above all these other ones, which which certainly were Jewish languages at a certain point. But Hebrew was always the Jewish language. I mean, the Jews in Israel spoke Hebrew. Yes, but my question is, and you're correct, so Danny's making the point that Hebrew wasn't the spoken language, okay? Hebrew was an academic language, and it's true. If you plop yourself down, I don't know, let's say in the 1200s. All Jews knew Hebrew. They were educated, as we know, literate, even at a time when many of the population were illiterate. But they were studying Hebrew in books. They studied the Torah, they studied the Talmud, which is Aramaic, but very close to it. Many commentary written from the 800s and from from the 1200s, and even way before that are written in Hebrew. So obviously we're all talking Hebrew and read Hebrew, right? Obviously we're all well read in Hebrew. But we also know almost for a fact that they were not speaking Hebrew. My question is, if they wanted a Jewish language, why not Hebrew? And for this, we're going to turn to Maimonides, okay? So, Malka, if you can read for us, please, text 2. There's a Hebrew, and then right afterwards there's an English. If you can read for us from Maimonides. So Maimonides is commenting, this is a commentary from Maimonides on a statement in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Lo matzati laguf tov l'shtika. One of the rabbis, the Talmudic rabbis of the Mishnah, says, I have not found anything greater for the body, for a human being, than silence, all right? But the Rambam is talking about the importance of knowing when to speak and when not to speak and how to speak. And in this context, the Rambam, Maimonides, divides speech into 5 categories. Malcolm, when you're ready.
And I say that speech is divided into 5 parts according to the Torah's obligation: the commanded, the prohibited, the disgusting,
Yep.
the beloved, the permissible.
Keep going.
The first division is that. The first division is that which one is commanded about, and it is reading the Torah and studying it and reading it analysis, and this is an obligatory positive commandment. The second division is the speech that is forbidden and that we are warned against, such as false testimony, tale-bearing, and cursing. And the words of Torah teach about the division, and also included are foul speech and evil speech. And the third division is the disgusting that has no benefit to a man for himself. Boy.
Yes. That's the answer I was looking for. You are. Okay. Baruch Hashem. Help him up.
Want to share the same attorney?
Okay. Danny, can you get a chair for Steve to sit over there? Like that he doesn't have to climb through this space here. Right there is good. Danny, let's do it right there. Like that he doesn't have to climb through. That's what I'm thinking. All right. Okay, next week we know we need more chairs. All right. Have him, you sit down. Can you please pass this down to Steve? Thank you. Okay, Malka, you were saying the third division.
The third division is disgusting. It has no benefit to a man for himself. It is not a sin and not rebellion. Like the speech of the masses about what happened and what was and what are the customs of King X and his chamber, and how is the cause of Y's death, or how did Z become rich. And the fourth division is the beloved, and that is speech and praise of intellectual virtues or dispositional virtues, and in disgrace of both types of vice. The fifth division is the permissible, and is a speech about what is specific to a person about his business, his livelihood, his food, his drink, his clothing, and the rest of what he needs for himself.
So Maimonides, Steve, you good? Steve, you're good?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So Maimonides is dividing speech into 5 categories. He says there's different types of speech, and we all engage, unfortunately, in all 5 of them. Perhaps there are tzaddikim that maybe they don't gossip and they don't whatever, but between us, we do all 5 levels of this speech. But he's saying there's different types of speech. Some of it is like what we're commanded to speak, like studying Torah. Some of it is what perhaps we're allowed to speak, like making a living and things like that. And some of it is just plain old gossip, which we should probably limit and mitigate as much as possible, right? And now I want to turn to text. So text 3 is the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab is the 5th Chabad Rebbe, and he was asked this question. Why? Because the Rebbe Rashab lives at a very interesting time. He lives at a time when Zionism is just birthing, just coming up. And without getting into the Rebbe Rashab's personal view, which was complex and far beyond, he was kind of anti-Zionist, kind of pro-Zionist. Chabad has always had a very complex relationship with Zionism, elements that we liked and elements that we didn't like, etc. But the Rebbe Rashab was asked a straightforward question. He represented Orthodox Judaism, And somebody asked him, he said, listen, pro-Zionist, anti-Zionist, I don't even care. Remember, so for context, this is in the 1800s, right? This is the beginnings of Zionism. And somebody asked him a simple question. He says, pro-Zionist, anti-Zionist, a state, no state, whatever, whether you think it's going to happen, you think it's not going to happen. I mean, remember, at that time, to be a Zionist, you have to be a little bit crazy too, right? I mean, even believe that such a thing is possible. But that's a much simpler question. Why is it that we find that along the lines of orthodoxy or non-orthodoxy, in terms of adopting Hebrew as a spoken language, Orthodox Jews were categorically against it? And this question was asked to the Rebbe Rashab so many times that he penned this letter, which is 8 pages long, but I'm just excerpting a little piece, in which he explains why Orthodox Judaism or Torah-observant Judaism would be against using Lashon HaKodesh or Hebrew as a spoken language. And this is directly tied to what Maimonides said. Pam, you want to read for us? I'm going every other one, just like that we give everybody a chance. Go ahead. Text 3.
I often wonder, why do the Orthodox folks teach in Lashon
The Holy Tongue.
the Holy? Therefore, I will clarify this verse is not truly personal. Lashon
HaKodesh.
is the language of the Torah, not the language of the. In other words, Lashon Kodesh is an essential language, not a social concept. In this way, it is different. It is different form of all other
I
languages.
think it's supposed to be from. It is different from all other languages.
Where the people language. Whereas Lashon Kodesh receives all of creation. Therefore, Lashon Kodesh is sanctified for the Torah in matters of poetry. Not be used using the same language that spoke the words, I am the Lord your God. First categories of the disgustful and the prohibited. So
here he's referencing Maimonides. Maimonides said that there's categories of speech which are prohibited because you're not allowed to talk about, like lying or lashon hara, speaking negative about each other, etc. Right? So says that Rashab, you want to know why Jews are opposed to using Hebrew as a spoken language? He says it's not supposed to be a spoken language; it's supposed to be a holy language. We're very pro studying Torah in Hebrew, even our own commentary on the Torah in Hebrew. We're very pro and regardless of what happened afterwards, the fact that Hebrew did become a language, etc., and we could talk about that, etc. But this was the reason, and this is why I want to say this very clearly. This is the reason why Yiddish was even necessary. Why there was another language that was necessary for Jews to converse in, other than Hebrew, in which they can curse each other out, in which they can talk about the bathroom, in which they can talk about business matters, in which they can lie and cheat each other. I'm not saying that Yiddish was designed to lie and cheat, although a lot of lying and cheating went on in Yiddish. What I'm saying is that Yiddish was designed, and we're going to see now some of the history to it. Yiddish was designed to be that other language. Anya, if you can read for us, please, text 4, where the Rebbe brings out this point. So Yiddish is a language like all other languages. And I want to. It's perhaps beyond the scope of today's class, but Hebrew. And often when I give a Hebrew class, this is part of my introduction. There, Hebrew, when we say, this coming Shabbos in the Torah, we're going to open it up, we're going to read which parsha? You should all know which one. We're starting at the beginning, right? Bereshit, the beginning. We're going to read in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Then we're going to say, and God said, let there be light. And then there was light. And God said that the earth should sprout forth. In other words, God created the world through speech. He spoke it into being, whatever that means. Which language was he speaking? He was speaking Hebrew. This was not before some human beings were around. This was before any human beings were around. In other words, Hebrew is not just the language of the Torah. Hebrew is the language of the fabric of the world, which is why Kabbalah is so busy with Hebrew, right? Oh, the letters and the gematrias and the numerical values and the codes that are hidden in the Hebrew letters, because it's a lot more than just a language. A language, when you talk about language in any other setting, a language is basically just a social construct. We have decided that this is a cup and this is a bottle. But if from now on, I say to this class, from now on, this is a cup and this is a bottle, anybody have any issues with that? Besides you're getting confused for the first few minutes, we'll all get used to it. We'll move on. This will be a cup, this will be a bottle, right? It's just a social construct. Not so with Hebrew. Hebrew is directly related to the godly energy which reverberates within each thing. Yes. Yeah, I got it. But that's all social construct. We would have to change the whole web, you were saying, not just the one or two. I got it. And by the way, a lot of languages, and certainly a lot of words within languages, actually find their origins in Hebrew, which is a whole other. But the point is still the point. Okay. So now we can understand why the history of this language is all tied into these ideas. Susie, if you can read for us text 5, which is from Chaim Werdiger's introduction. Go ahead. By the way, hold on. I'm just curious. Is this news to anyone?
No.
Was everybody aware that Yiddish is a 1,000-year-old language? No. How old did you think Yiddish was? Oh, I asked you 700. You thought 200, like right before the war, or whatever, 100 years before the war.
German that it was been around forever.
Okay, all right.
Forever, but
For a long time. Did anybody else think it was younger? Did anybody think it was older than 1,000 years? You thought it was older than 1,000 years. Right. You thought like, oh, the Jewish people, so probably it's older than. Okay. There you go. Miriam, what did you think? You thought it was around forever. He's going to continue to talk about that. Yeah. He's going to talk about that right now. Go ahead, Sitzi. 1,000-year-old language. Okay. And this all serves as an explanation for why Yiddish is a real language. What do I mean by that? There are a lot of other Aramaic, for example, also a very Jewish language. And this isn't the class in Aramaic. We give a whole history about that, but the Talmud is written in Aramaic. A lot of our prayers that we're meant to understand, believe it or not, the ones like whenever the prayer is moving along in Hebrew and then there's a paragraph in Aramaic, if you go back to the reasoning for that, the reason is because you're supposed to understand that one. So they made it in the language of the people. Today, ironically, everybody understands Hebrew. Almost nobody understands Aramaic. I mean, everybody. I'm saying definitely Israelis, and outside of Israel, anybody who had a robust Hebrew school education knows Hebrew. But Aramaic, very few people speak Aramaic. I mean, those that study the Talmud, but other than that, not. And even if you study the Talmud, by the way, to read a prayer in Hebrew, it's very like you don't treat it as a language like that. Now, my point is, Aramaic never caught on as like I don't even know that there are books today on like the grammar of Aramaic or whatever. It's a language, you trust it, however it's written in the Talmud, and you study it as much as you can, and that's it. You know what I mean? The reason Yiddish really developed into a real, robust language is because it evolved for over 1,000 years with people. So let's try to paint a picture, if you will, in our heads for what it might have looked like at the beginning. At the beginning, so let's take the year 1,000. Let's assume the first word ever spoken in Yiddish was in the year 1,000. Yiddish most likely was just Old German. And because it's being spoken by Jews, they started to throw in words like Torah or shul or whatever. They, like even shul is a German word, but I'm saying like whatever. They would throw in Hebrew words to fill in, whether because they didn't know the Old German word or because they were just, slowly using those words that other people couldn't understand them or whatever it is. Same way many of us know Yiddish. Our parents or our grandparents talking it that we don't understand. So imagine them speaking Old German, and then there's somebody nearby you don't want to understand. So you throw in one or two words from Hebrew. You're not speaking Hebrew. You believe Hebrew is holy. It shouldn't be touched. right? You shouldn't be conversing in Hebrew, but you'll throw in a couple words into Old German. It continues like that for 100, 200 years. Most likely, those first 100 or 200 years, they didn't even realize they were speaking Yiddish. Maybe it didn't even have a name yet. You know what I mean? It was, and then slowly it begins to develop. And then as they move from place to place, first of all, it takes on other words from other languages, as we know. Yiddish has many words from many languages, and slowly it begins to become an actual language. And then eventually, there's people who start writing in that language and acting and singing, etc. As we know, way later in the 19th century. Which is why its greatest heyday was 11 million Jews speaking it, which was right before the war. Okay. Let's keep. Yes, go ahead.
Hebrew. How was that resistance overcome then?
Zionists, for the most part, the Zionists who were, well, you saw a little. I'm not really going to fully answer your question because it's really a topic for like a class on Zionism, a class on Orthodoxy and Zionism, etc. But you saw a little touch of that. Oh, sorry. Okay. We saw a little touch of that with the Rebbe Rashab and other rabbis in that era being opposed, actually, to that happening. Even some of the pro-Zionists did not feel that Hebrew was the right language to use for that. They felt this was corrupting the language, etc. I would venture to say it happened mainly by secular, maybe even anti-Orthodox Zionists. But that's a whole different conversation. Yes. When he was talking the word of God. I don't know that necessarily the people among themselves spoke Hebrew. I don't know. There's a couple of points here. The first one, the rabbis discouraging people to do. Well, I would think the rabbis would encourage people. Oh, you're saying with time. That could be. I'm not aware of any such. I would imagine. Right. Today. Good question. Let's leave it alone for now, okay? Because I really do want to stay focused on Yiddish. Okay. Yes. What language were they speaking? No, they definitely weren't exposed to Aramaic. We also have evidence that they had a language among themselves. It was probably a form of Hebrew. How that jives with this point that he made about Hebrew that Hebrew should be a holy tongue. For the Torah is a good question. But let's get back to Yiddish, shall we? Okay. All right. So Nurit, what? Interesting stuff, no? Okay. Nurit, if you can read for us text 6, we'll continue going with some more of the history for many centuries.
On the way to merge the wisdom of Solomon along the way. Signs of the Bible. will be wise.
Thank you, Nurit. So where we are now is we have Yiddish as a very, very contemporary language. It's a full-bodied language. It's a cultured language. It has jokes in it. It has curses in it. It has blessings in it. It has stories in it. It has jokes in it. It has songs and plays, etc. And it's the language of the people. And it's not holy necessarily. It's Jewish, but not holy necessarily. And then along came a very, very interesting individual known as the Baal Shem Tov, right? Founder of Hasidism, not Chabad Hasidism, but all Hasidism. And he did something very interesting. The Baal Shem Tov comes around. Now, the Baal Shem Tov lives in the 1600s, okay? Yiddish is already widespread, okay? It's not at its peak, which is the 19th century, but in the 17th century, millions of Jews are speaking Yiddish, all right? Millions of Jews are speaking Yiddish. And the Baal Shem Tov comes around, and without getting into all the history of the Baal Shem Tov, but suffice to say that one of the revolutions of the Baal Shem Tov was that he wasn't just for the learned Jews. He was also, he believed in the power and the importance and uplifting of this quote-unquote simple Jew, the Jew who didn't necessarily understand Hebrew, the Jew who didn't necessarily know how to study Talmud or the Torah, etc. And he says, you're also part of Hashem's people, and you also need to be serving Hashem. And what language are those people speaking? They're speaking Yiddish, right? Yiddish was not the language of only the academic people. It was an every man's language. And the Baal Shem Tov actually taught in Yiddish. Marilyn, if you can read for us, please, text 7. The Baal Shem Tov all of a sudden flips the whole thing on its head. Revolutionary that he was, some of the deepest Hasidic ideas that we have till today. He only has like 2 books, but with these pearls of wisdom that Rebbe's after him, the Hasidic masters and Kabbalists after him are expounding upon these very Kabbalistic deep ideas, which resonate with millions of people around the world, right? And what language are they being shared in? What happened to the holy tongue? What happened to Lashon HaKodesh? And only the Torah is supposed to be in Hebrew, and that's the holy tongue, and then Yiddish is for cursing each other out and telling jokes, right? No, the Baal Shem Tov actually says, no, we're going all the way into the everyman's language. And this is directly tied with the idea that the Baal Shem Tov espoused, he believed was his purpose on this earth, and that till today Hasidim believe was his purpose on this earth. The Baal Shem Tov tells us that it was one day on Shavuot. Menachem can tell you the words of this vision by heart. He says that the Baal Shem Tov says that one day on Shavuot, which was also no such thing as coincidence, but coincidentally many years later was also his yard site, that on Shavuot he had a vision. He had an elevation. He went up to Heichel HaMashiach, to the chamber up in heaven where Mashiach is found. And he said to him, this was after he was already the Baal Shem Tov, he was already spreading these Hasidic ideas all over. He said to me, Masai Kasimar, when will the Master come? When is Mashiach coming? And he said to him, touche, when your wellsprings, when your ideas will reach this level called chutza, the outside, everywhere, when it'll be everywhere. This was the Baal Shem Tov's vision. The Baal Shem Tov's vision was that the deepest ideas of Torah should be shared, not just in Hebrew, but they have to spill over into Yiddish. And by the way, from Yiddish into all other languages. Today, every Chabad house is teaching in their language. If you walk into a Chabad house in Colombia, they're teaching Hasidic ideas in Spanish, right? And they're teaching Hasidic ideas in Chinese and in Japanese and in Korean, etc. I was in Korea and I was interviewed. I was interviewed in English, but the rabbi here knows Korean. And I was interviewed. They wanted to know what the Talmud, right? So many of you know that the Koreans are all to the Talmud. And the Baal Shem Tov's ideas, these Hasidic ideas, are flowing all over the world in all languages. And that's what the Rebbe points out in text 8, which is going to be the conclusion of our introduction, which I think is really a very powerful idea. Steve, if you can read for us, please, text 8.
And deeper story. The fact that most of these ideas were shared is kind of being more elevated Jewish ideas, even before any of the Yiddish was destroyed. And number two, through the Hasidic ideas that shared by the language became even more elevated.
So what's happening today, if I had to say, is that Yiddish is actually being used, and by the way, this continues through all the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, our Rebbe. The only reason that I want Menachem to know Yiddish has nothing to do with Yiddish plays. I think his life will be just fine if he reads Shalom Aleichem in English. He doesn't need to read in the original Yiddish. The reason Menachem is here tonight is because, to me, I want him to be able to study the Rebbe's ideas in the original Yiddish that the Rebbe said them, and the original Yiddish in which they're recorded, by the way, on video, and which we'll watch a video of the Rebbe soon. You'll be very connected to our lesson, and to read the Rebbe's talks in Yiddish, etc. Why? Because that's the Rebbe's ideas as they were brought out for the public, and it's our job to continue spreading those wellsprings all over the world until Mashiach comes. All right. So it turns out, maybe you didn't know this before you came tonight. Maybe you knew that Yiddish, you knew how to say oive, and you knew how to say Bobby oive is mir, right? But I don't know if you knew this. Yiddish and the role that Yiddish is playing today is actually directly associated with the coming of Mashiach. Okay. And with this, I'm gonna conclude my introduction. I could probably go on for another hour. If I included all of your comments of what everybody else knows about Yiddish, we could probably be here for another 3 hours because there's so much to say about Yiddish. But instead of introducing it over and over and over again, why don't we dive right in, shall we? Okay. Yes. Please turn your handouts to page 7. Okay. We're gonna literally get started. We've covered why to learn Yiddish. I just want to finish my introduction by giving you an idea of what this course is, what it's not, and what we plan to do. All right. So what this course is the flavor of Yiddish. It is Yiddish cultural exposure. It is slight vocabulary building, not too intense on that level. And ultimately, what I'm trying to help every single one of you do is to answer the question, do I want to pursue this? Do I actually want to spend 20, 30 weeks out of the year, an hour each time, really cracking my teeth at it and sinking my teeth? What this course is not, this 4-week course is not intended to be an in-depth language learning. It will not be like when you took French in high school or anything like that, or Spanish or whatever it is, or Mandarin. Nobody here is young enough to have taken Mandarin in high school. Right? That's now the new generation is taking Mandarin. But it will hopefully give you that flavor and help you answer that question about whether you want to pursue it. Okay, couple things to know about Yiddish. Number 1, Yiddish is read using alphabet. Okay, just like Hebrew. That's because it was spoken by Jews. So even though they were taking the language, Old German, and then later on, with the Slavic and Italian and all the other influences that it had, they were taking languages that had alphabet, but because their primary alphabet was alphabet, so they used the aleph base, right, to write it in. As a result, it goes from right to left. Yes. The one change that happened, I do not know the history behind this, is that Hebrew is written in Hebrew characters, and then the vowels or the nekudot happen around the letters. Everybody knows this, right? Yeah, the dots and the dashes that happen on the bottom and on top of the Hebrew letters, those are the vowels. Yiddish is not so. Yiddish is exactly like German or any other Latin language like English or Spanish, etc., where the vowels are actually letters. Okay? I'm not going to bore you now by going through those vowels. If we end up doing an in-depth Yiddish program, I will definitely start with that. Those vowels will be important. All right? I'll just list them now if you're interested. Aleph can make either an A or an A. Ayin makes an E sound. 2 Yuds makes an A or an I sound. Vav Yud makes an Oi sound. A Vav on its own makes an U sound. These are all letters, right? And there would be, No, not at all. In the Torah, you just have to know the vowels by heart. You don't really know how to pronounce it. Here, you know how to pronounce it from the letters. It's exactly like English. Where English has 3 letters, A, N, D, and that spells and, but the A is the vowel, Yiddish will be exactly the same way. The word for and in Yiddish is un, aleph, vav, nun. The aleph is a consonant, the nun is a consonant, the vav in the middle is the u sound. Okay? If you didn't follow that, that's fine. the main point that I wanted to get to was that for the most part, our course, we're going to be following the phonetics, which means we're going to be spelling things out, as you'll see in English, to help everybody that doesn't read Hebrew or Yiddish to be able to follow along. So a word like would just be spelled UN, right? Or ich would be spelled IKH, KH making that ch. I know sometimes they do it with CH, right? But the KH is what we're going to be using in this course. The course structure, each week, each lesson will have a theme. We're attempting to cover a particular theme. This week is the basics. I think next week is family time. The next one is what time is it? Right? Let's eat. Themes like that. We're going to start off always with vocabulary. We'll do some exercises based on the vocabularies, and then we'll do a song, a Yiddishism, and story time. Okay, so that's the ending to end off on a fun note. Are we ready for the hard work?
Yes.
Take out your pens. Make sure you have a pen in front of you. Okay. Yes. You have a comment.
I didn't think this was 1 million. I need to find out what I might E come from Yiddish.
So what?
I might E.
Oh,
I
the-
don't think come from Yiddish.
Okay, I'm ready. All right. My slides are reminding me that there's one more thing I'm supposed to be doing, which is going through the overview of the course. Lesson 1 is going through the basics, where we'll cover pronouns, times of the day and week, and greetings. That's today. Lesson 2 is going to be numbers and the clock. That's why it's called What Time Is It? Lesson 3, which is called Let's Get Dressed, will be about telling time, waking up, and getting dressed. And lesson 4 will be about family time. So we'll learn about family members and meals and food. All right? That's the course overview. And now we are ready for lesson 1, where our goals for today are to learn pronouns, times of the day and week, and greetings. Ready to rumble?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So pronouns. Let's start this as a Q&A. All right? Does anybody know how to say I in Yiddish? Raise your hand. Yes. Ich. Very good. So ich is I. I-K-H. Ich. All right? That's the word for I. So if you're already doing exercise 1.1, then you can see that the I is there, right? How do you say you in Yiddish? Anybody? Almost. That is a version of it. Dear. Very good. D-I-R is dear. So the first exercise, if we're diving right into the exercises, I see everybody has their pens out already. So ich mit dir means I with you. Okay, so ich is I, dir is you, and mit is the Hebrew word for with. You can see it on the screen behind me if you're not following. Okay, you can check it out here. Dir, I'm spelling it D-I-R. Yeah, I'm spelling it D-I-R, but you could do D-E-E-R if you want dir, whatever. Ich mit dir means I with you. Okay. So we have ich and we have dir. All right. I'm going to teach you another word. It's not on your exercise. The word is bin. Okay, bin means am. All right. Ich bin, I am. All right. And now you can fill in whatever you want afterwards. You just learned your first Yiddish sentence. You can say ich bin an alter Kake if you want. I see some of you speak some Yiddish. Maybe more properly, I should have said, ich bin a junge Fischer. Well, let's not introduce too many words at one time, okay? Avram, let me lead, and then we'll do slowly a few words at a time. But more importantly, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you all to turn to the person on your left. Okay, so we're doing, we can't all turn to the person on your left. Okay, so you two, and then you two, and you two. I want you to turn to each other. I want you to introduce yourself. Ich bin Sushi. All right, go ahead. Yeah. I'll do it. Ich bin Sushi. Yeah. All right, very good. So we have our first building blocks of our language. Ich means I, dir means you. Let's keep going. Bin means am, yeah. By the way, we're really, but when I throw in an extra word like that, do not feel the need to write it down. You could, if you want on the margins, like the word bin that I just threw in there. I'm throwing it in so we can learn together. But the program is what we really want to make sure we're following, because that's going to build on itself. They'll get the bin eventually. Okay? Ich mit dir means I with you. Let's try he with her. Okay? So the Hebrew word for he is er. Er. Okay, so er, it's like E-R or E-H-R, however you want to spell it, er. And mit, again, is with, and ear is her. Okay, now, yeah. Er mit ear. Him with her, or he with her. Okay, now is when I need to tell you that Yiddish is probably from the most complex languages you've ever learned. I just told you that he with her is mit ir, right? Okay, but it turns out you can also say mit z. Now that wouldn't be grammatically correct, but there are multiple words for he and multiple words for her. We're not going to confuse you with them now. And we're going to explain why that is later. I'm just telling it to you because I've noticed it already coming up. When I asked for the word for you, you said dich. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. The official word is dir, but you would say dich in the right context with the right word afterwards, the right word before, etc. I'm teaching you right now the core word. The core word for I and for you is ich and dir, and for he and for she is and ir. Okay? There are, however, other words, and I want to tell you that now, not just to confuse you, although that's a sidebar I'm trying to do. But really, I'm trying to tell you so you don't later on hear somebody else saying it. You're like, hey, I know ir is she or ir is her, and there's no difference, right? Okay. So it's and later on they'll get to it. They'll tell you that her and she, right, which are practically the same word, right? She and her. Exactly. Oh, because we're in Europe. That's a whole different complication we're going to get into later. But no, for now, this wouldn't depend. Ir and z is more like her and she. Yes. We're going to get that. We haven't even touched on that yet. None of this will have to do with that yet. And here, yeah, but that's not familiar and formal. No, not yet. Okay, let's not go there yet. I could just mention it. The formal in Yiddish, like in Hebrew, and like I believe in French, is the plural. So we could. That's an easy one actually. You don't know the word for plural yet. We're getting there, but that's what you would do. Okay, so we don't do it in English, as we know. English is not very formal. We throw everybody under the bus, right? But in theory, in English, it would be if I say instead of saying "How are you," I would say "How are you," right? The plural, whatever. How are y'all? Whatever the word. Whatever. That would be so just like it is that way in Hebrew and French. I don't know in other languages. They say use, and it's considered the formal. Use doesn't sound right. All right, okay, we'll leave Newcastle alone. Okay, the he with her is mit ir. What about me and you? Me and you is, oops, I went backwards. Mir und dir. Okay, so I already gave you before. I gave it to you as a bonus word, but here you're officially learning it. Un is the Hebrew word for and. So mir is me, dir is you. We know that already from earlier, right? This is your first repetition. Mir und dir means me and you. Everybody got that? Mir und dir. Okay. So if I want to say me and you and everybody, right, I would say ich, mit dir, mit dir, mit dir, mit dir. I would start going through that, okay? Und ir, right? I mean, it's me and you and he and she, right? Okay. Beautiful. What about we and they? Right? And very good. We is uns. Uns, yeah, you could spell it either UNZ or UNDZ if you want to be really get this. Yeah. Uns. And they is a they. That's an easy one, right? They is they. Don't worry, they're going to confuse you later with English words that sound like Hebrew, like Yiddish words, but that are not the right word. Don't worry. But for now, it works. They is they. And that also explains why you're Zaidi. Every time he spoke about they, he would say, what are they saying? Right? Why? Because to him, they was they. Right? Okay. So uns they is us and them, or we and them. Okay? Are we ready to rumble?
Yeah.
All right. So that's our pronouns. Let's move on to time of day and the week. Okay? So we're not going to be doing numbers yet. All right? I'm following this program. The numbers are not coming yet. So it's going to be a little complicated to do time of the day, right? So we're not really going to do times yet. We're going to do what's the word for it? I don't know, like parts of the day, like morning, noon, afternoon, etc. Right? Okay. Does anybody know how to say day in Yiddish? Tag. Very good. So in Yiddish, it's in German it's tag. In Yiddish, it's tog. Okay, so TOG would be the word. Now, wait. Don't stop writing it down. Hold on. We're gonna get there. Okay. Now, tomorrow is morgen. Okay, so we have tog is today. Don't write anything yet. Hold on. We're getting to it. Tog is day. Okay. Actually, let's not do tomorrow yet. Tag is day. Heint is today. Today. Okay? Tag is a day. Heint is today. Nechten is yesterday. And morgen is tomorrow. So now we have a sentence here, okay? And I need to teach you this complicated sentence. So before we even start translating it, I want to do something else, okay? So put your pens down. And I want you all to greet me, okay? Let's see if you can guess what I'm saying. Let's pretend we're in not even high school. I think this is like elementary when they do this, right? A guten Abend, Kita, which means good evening, class. What do you say? A guten Abend, Zushi. Let's try that again. A guten Abend, Danny. Very good. A guten Abend, Nurit. Zushi. Very good. The name is what you forgot. That's easy. This class is not about my name. A guten Abend, Miriam. Ovent. Ovent, like an oven with a T at the end. Ovent. Okay? All right. But what if this class, like normal people, was happening in the morning? What would I say? Anybody? A good morgen. Very good. A good morgen, Zushi. A good morgen, Kita, which means good morning. A good morgen, Kita. Very good. A good morgen. Right? Now, for fun, because this is what we do in Yiddish, Yiddish also is full of sarcasm. So you know how in English, sometimes when somebody just realizes something, like maybe if Adam all of a sudden went, what, this is the Yiddish class? I could say to him, good morning, Adam, right? It turns out that comes from Yiddish. Good morning, Adam, right? That's like a facetious way of saying, where have you been all this time? Yes. That is conjugating. I probably shouldn't have done that so as not to confuse you. You could say good oven as well. I said a guten because, yes, I'm conjugating. A more complicated thing for later. Okay, so let's get the day after tomorrow evening. Okay, so it turns out Yiddish is, before we get to it, Yiddish, like many other languages, and I just earlier today, a clip from a comedian popped up in my feed from Yochai Sponder. Anybody know him? He's really funny. So he's a Hebrew comedian, he's an Israeli comedian who does comedy in English. And he says to us, you guys, he says, your language is missing words. He says, I'm here for you. I'm going to do it for you. He says, I'm going to help you guys out. He says, you're missing the word machartayim. Anybody know what the word machartayim is in Hebrew? Machartayim is the day after tomorrow, right? So now it would be a reference to Shabbat. You don't need to write it down. It's Hebrew. This is a Yiddish class. Now, so he says, I'll help you guys out. He says, tomorrow is tomorrow. Tomorrow's, he says, is tomorrow's. He says, this was his clever bit. Okay? So Yiddish also has a word like that. Now, you might remember that the word in Yiddish for tomorrow is morgen. Okay? Morgen means tomorrow. Iber morgen means the day after tomorrow. Literally, it means over morrow. The day after tomorrow. So now, if we want to do the day after tomorrow in the evening, we would do Iber morgen in Ovent. Okay, and now we can start writing. You can take your pens out now. Iber morgen in Ovent. Day after tomorrow in the evening. So this would be talking about Saturday night. Okay, Iber morgen in Ovent. The day after tomorrow in the evening is Iber morgen in Ovent. Okay. Yes. Yes. Well, it's not going to be confusing in a second. Hold on. Well, first of all, it makes sense. I would imagine that the English etymology for the word morrow is from morning or something like that. Because if you're talking now and you're talking about tomorrow, you're talking about the next morning, right? So it actually makes sense. But we will get confusing. So I'm going to use Susie's question as a segue into the next point. 1 second. Where it does get confusing is, what if somebody wants to specify that they're talking about the morning and that they're not talking about tomorrow, okay? Or, let's put it this way, what if you want to do tomorrow in the morning, right? Or today in the morning. So to say pint in der Morgen would be problematic because that almost sounds like today in the tomorrow, right? So that's where Yiddish has another word for morning, and that is in der free. Now, in der free is really a conjugation of 3 words. In means in, der means the, and free means early. Okay? In der free, in the early. obviously a reference to the morning, the earliest part of the day, right? So if you want to say today, which is heint, if you remember, in the morning, you would say heint in der früh. So this is a new word that we have now for morning, and which is heint in der früh. Now, to Susie's point, I want to point out, while you're writing this, I want to point out that actually one of the only times that we use the word morgen for morning is when we say good morgen.
Okay.
Good morning. Other than that, I would say 80% of the time you use the word in der früh. For example, let's look at the next one, which is obviously the one where you have both of them in the same sentence. What do you have? You have morgen, that's the word for tomorrow, in der früh. Well, okay, they want to teach you something else here. If it was tomorrow in the morning, then it would be morgen in der früh, right? But that's not what they say. They say tomorrow in the AM. All right. What does tomorrow in the AM mean? Doesn't not necessarily morning. It could be anytime before noon, right? So the word you're going to use is far mittag, okay, which is literally what Danny just said. Far means before, and mittag means midday or noon. Mittag is the word for noon. So tomorrow in the AM or tomorrow before noon would be morgen far mittag, tomorrow before midday. Mittag. Mittag. M-I-T-O-G. Yes, mittag. Morgen far mittag. Okay. Breaking the neck here, I'm sorry. I'll make a point next week of saying I think Menachem is also, but he's a little more flexible than you.
I can't see that.
And we have babka that's burning. I'm gonna go. What? Yeah, can you turn it off and just open the oven door? Maybe take them out with gloves, put them on top of the table. We'll bring them out soon. Burning babka. We're soon gonna have burnt babka. Okay. Let's keep going, shall we? Number 4, yesterday, late afternoon. Okay, so here's what we have here. So yesterday, in English, we say late afternoon. Okay, but it's essentially the same format. They're trying to use the same formula as number 3. Number 3 was tomorrow in the AM, which means tomorrow anytime before noon. What they're trying to say in number 4 is late afternoon means anytime before nighttime. So what are you going to say? You're going to say nechten, that's yesterday. And you're going to say far nacht means before dark or before night, literally. It literally means before night. But probably in English we would say yesterday before dark. Or I guess we would say before night, right? Wouldn't we? I think we would say that. Nechten far nacht means yesterday before night. Okay, now we can start to play with all these words we have. So 5 is day before yesterday at night, right? So here we get another word that you don't have in English. How do you say the day before yesterday? You usually say 2 days ago, right? Which is just that one you can just count 18 days ago, 2 days ago, whatever. In Yiddish, there's a word called eyer. And eyer means the one before that one. Okay? I've never heard anybody say, although everybody would know what they're talking about, I've never heard anybody say eyer nechten, the one before yesterday, right? But this is the proper way to say the day before yesterday is eyer nechten. Now, because they're talking about at night, so you would say eyer nechten banacht. Eyer means the one before, nechten means yesterday, and banacht means by night. Eyer nechten by nacht, the day before yesterday at night. Okay. I would like to meet you for coffee, Larry, today in the afternoon. Any ideas? Anybody ideas? You know the word for today already. What is it? No, that's day. Day is tug. Heint. Very good. Heint is today. Okay. What's the word for noon? Mittag. Very good. Mittag. Tug is day. Mit is the middle. Heint, mittag is today and noon. What are we missing? After for noon, right? Afternoon. Today in the afternoon. What would that be? Anybody? After? Any German speakers? Noch. Very good. So together, Heint noch Mittag is today in the afternoon. Okay? Heint noch Mittag. Okay. All right. Let's introduce the word for dawn, shall we? Okay. First, let's start with the words we know. What is tomorrow? Would you say it? Morgen. Very good. Morgen. M-O-R-G-N. Morgen. So morgen at dawn means before day, right? So we're going to do far hugs before the day breaks, before daybreak, before dawn. right? So it's going to be morgen fartogs, tomorrow before day. Mm-hmm. And the last one, the next day in the morning, which means we could be talking about next week, Wednesday. We're saying, yeah, next week, Wednesday, we're going to go and we're going to this and we're going to learn something, whatever. And then I want to tell you that the next day in the morning, we're going to meet for coffee. Tomorrow, next week, Wednesday, we're having a meeting. And the next day, we're going to meet for coffee. What's the word we're going to use? So we have morgen is going to be morrow, right? But because it's not talking tomorrow, so when next, you're going to say two morgens means the next day after whatever we were talking about in der free. The next day in the morning is, I know, I'm sorry about that. Two morgens in der free. Yeah. TZU is two. Morgens, already? Two morgens means the next day. In der free in the morning. Oh, sorry. Two morgens in der free. All right, we are just about ready to move on to greetings. We've done a lot of them already, but let's move on to greetings, shall we? By the way, if you're not retaining all this, don't worry. This is a class. I'm teaching it now. The retaining you can do by practicing it over and over again, right? We don't need to do all that together as a group. Okay, let's do some greetings, shall we? And with that, we're going to conclude today. Does everybody see now why I tried to make this bite size? Taking enough time as it is. Okay, but greetings. All right, and this is where we get to practice Danny's formal and informal. You ready? Okay. Guten Morgen. How are we going to say to you? Everybody remember? What? No. We have it at the beginning. How do you say you? Dear. Very good. Two is two. So let's start. Okay. Let's start with the informal. Okay. We're starting with the second. Good morning to you is Guten Morgen, dear. Good morning, you. Okay. Now you know why when your Zaidi would talk to you, he would often say, good morning, you. He wouldn't say good morning to you, because in Yiddish you don't do that. In theory, you could say good morgen zu dir, but it would be much more of a statement. Okay. And now we get the word for you all. You ready? The word for you all is I. And so if I was talking to really anyone of you in this room, formally and properly, etc., I would say good morgen eich, which means good morning to you all. In theory, right? I could say good morning. Good morgen eich. I was using before the word kita, which means class, right? But in theory, I could say good morgen eich, and you guys can say good morgen dear. Let's try that. Good morgen eich. Good morning, dear. Very good, because you're saying good morning to you. Okay. Yes. No. It's a good question. I think there would be a difference of opinion. There are those that have been trying to formalize it, but then there's like words that are so popular. Like I think KH is probably the more common for ch, but then you have a word like Chabad, and what are you going to do? It's all over. Like, what are you going to like? That's fine. Yeah. Whatever works for you. Right? It's not really. I mean, I would imagine that the Yiddish Book Center in Massachusetts probably has an official way that they would like everybody to be doing it, but I have seen it all sorts of ways all over. In Yiddish, it's very, Yiddish. Yes, correct. In the actual Yiddish letters, it's very. There's grammar and there's proper spelling and improper spelling. Absolutely. What? That is an accent. I don't even want to go there. I chose one accent for this class. It's the one I grew up with. It's the Russian and German. It's not the Polish one. The Polish with the git. We're not even going there. Okay, let's finish this exercise. Actually, you know what? We're going to skip the rest of this exercise for time, and I will put it up on the board later at the end of the class for those that want to fill it in. All right? Because I think it's time to have some fun. Okay. So we are now going to be doing a Yiddish song. I would love if some of you would guess, because I spent so much time trying to figure out which is the first one. There are so many good Yiddish songs. Which one should be the song of the week? But no, don't look. You all went right to your handouts. Which one? No, Yiddish song. You knew that when you looked, or that's Oh,
Give me that.
which one would you have done? I was thinking I did the Shemana or whatever. I went with Oifin Pripachik. Oifin Pripachik is a beautiful melody written by Moshe Warshawski or Mark Markovich Warshawski. More about him some other time. I don't know. I don't know. I could have looked it up before the class. I didn't. I would imagine 100. By the way, most Yiddish music is the last 200 years, not before that. And the video that we are going to be watching is the song as it is sung by M Generation, which is a boys' choir. They do a fantastic job. And you can follow along on page 9 as they go through the words. I put it here for you in the actual Yiddish, in the phonetic Yiddish, and in the English. And I made sure, because I had to do this, because every song has like slight word variances. I went through the song to make sure literally every word is the same. And most importantly, that the lines are the same. So if you're looking for what is the translation of the third line of the song, it will be the third line of the translation. That makes sense? I made sure to do it that way for your actually with one exception. Because afterwards I remember I reformed one second. All right. But for the most part. Okay. We ready? Okay. We're going to watch Oifin Pripachik now on the screen. And let me give you your homework right now. Right after we finish watching Oifin Pripachik, we are going to sing it together. All right? So do your best to learn it. You weren't ready for that, huh? Some of you are like, I haven't had my egg this morning. I haven't gargled my egg this morning. All right. Okay. So we're going to watch it. It's going to be preceded, which I thought was very appropriate, by a 45-second clip of the Rebbe talking about the importance of the song in Yiddish. The Rebbe always spoke in Yiddish, and there will be subtitles to the Rebbe talking about it, and then the song will begin. Are we ready? Here we go.
Amol, das gewähnt an meine Gaposche. Bis wann es am Weg der Miet verwiegen a Kind. Schaß noch gewähnt, teren jeder Likre. Sagt man verwiegen mit a Liedele, als do a Lichtele, was brennt. Und der Rebbe lernt mit dem Kind, komm es alle vor. Das nicht a jene, was glad bei Kroi Baume, das ist Kabel geworden und ist Paschut geworden, bei einer Schei und Nessi so, bei der Essenische Liefnisse. Ich will aber sehen, nicht sehen, ob man Weib geworden und Masbil geworden, das ist verbunden mit Nessina, Satera, Messina. Damals werden auswachsende Kinder gedehnt, Betero, Mitzveseo, und die in die Woche geben an Nachas Ruch Amiti, zu sehen Mechanchim und zu sehen Madrichim und zu sehen Eltern.
Auf und Pripyatchik brennt a fire on, und in Stub ist heiß,
Okay. So on page 9, we have the words. Okay. What we're going to do now is 2 things at the same time. Anybody ready for multitasking? Ooh, Danny's like, that never works. Okay. This one should work. Please take out your pens. All right. There's no getting this right or wrong. We're going to sing the song together. I would like you to circle anything. So we're reading obviously on the top left. Yes, unless you're good with the top right, go for it. You know what I mean? But I'd like you to circle any of the words that we have learned already today, because I tried to choose songs and expressions and stories that have the words that we learned in those things, right? So you're looking for any of those words. But we're also, that's one thing we're doing. We're doing that while we're singing. Ready? Okay? I'm not doing a solo here. You ready, guys? Everybody together. Oy fin pripechik brennt auf Feuer und du bist heiß und der Rebbe kleine Kinder der Male Beis und der Rebbe kleine Kinder der Male Beis. Gedenke Kinder, gedenke Teilen, was ihr lernt da. Ihr sagt schon noch einmal und Tage noch einmal, kommet alle vor. Sagt schon noch einmal und Tage noch einmal. Kommet alle vor, ihr werdet Kinder, älter werden, werdet ihr damals verstehen, wie voll in die Äußers liegen Tränen und wie voll Gewinn. Oy, wie voll in die Äußers liegen Tränen und wie voll Gewinn. Okay. Raise your hand if you circled any words, or you were too busy singing. Oh, we have a few here. Okay. Anya, what do you have? Very, uns? No. Oh, in the plural. Got it. Yeah. Means and. Because I want to remind you, we learned uns, which means we. 2 different words. Means and. So we had that a few times there. Any other words? Dina. Ear. Very good. Ear. Now here's an interesting point. Ear here means you in the plural. Like eich. Ear means that. It does not mean her, like we learned. Any other words? Yes, Michelle. No, sorry. That's not that's not zay. That is actually je. Okay, and it's like I don't know how to say it. It's just a Yiddish sound that comes in together with everything else, and it just becomes part of it. So no, we did not have zay as in they in this song. Yes. Very good. Very good. Okay. El terverin means to get older. Ear. Yeah, we said ear already. Yeah. Nochmal means again. Again, yeah. Okay, should we sing it one more time or should we move on to the next one? Raise your hand for one more time. Ah? You want to ask a question? Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, Kamat Aleph O is the teacher telling the student, how do they translate in English? What? They didn't? Oh, so Kamat is the vowel, Aleph is the letter, and O is the sound that it makes. That's how you teach a child to read Hebrews. You say Kamat Aleph makes O. Actually, even in Yiddish, for the Aleph you would. It's complicated. Is O. The Kamat under the Aleph makes O. Kamat Aleph O. Yes. Gevein means crying, but I think basically they had trerin as tears, so they wanted to translate Gevein a little bit differently. Very similar, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not exactly, no, there's more to that. We'll get to Oigavalt too. All right, we're going to move on to page number 10. We're going to do a Yiddishism, okay? This is a line, an expression, a statement, a wit from Rabbi Menachem Mendel Morgenstern, otherwise known as the Kotzker Rebbe. The Kotzker Rebbe was known for being very, very sharp. He lived, this one has the years, Danny, there you go, 1787 to 1859. He was Hasidic Rebbe and a spiritual leader. His name was Rabbi Menachem Mendel Morgenstern, but he was in the city of Kotsk, and so they used to call him the Kotzker. Okay, now the Kotzker used to say, are you ready? Let's see if anybody follows me all the way through. Ich bin ich, weil du bist du und du bist du, weil ich bin ich, demnach bin ich nicht ich und du bist nicht du. Aber ich bin ich, weil ich bin ich und du bist du, weil du bist du, demnach bin ich und du bist du. Now the good news is you guys know all those words, so you should be able to translate. Because we already learned ich. What does ich mean? I. Now we didn't learn do, but do is like dear. It's another form of you, okay? It's much more familiar. Do means you, okay? So you're only missing a couple words there. Ich, do. So we have the same words over and over again, all right? I know I didn't do it. I'm realizing, as I'm looking at it, I'm realizing that I didn't do it. That's my bad. My apology that I didn't do the phonetics. Susie's giving me the wag of the finger. She's giving. I'll explain it. Okay. Ich bin ich, if I am I. Weil du bist du, because you are you. Und du bist du, and you are you. Weil ich bin ich, because I am I. So again, if I am I, because you are you, and you are you, because I am I, and there's my existence depends on your existence, and your existence depends on my existence. In psychological terms, we have some psychologists here, right? What do we call this? Codependent. Right? Were you going to say that? If I am I only because you are you, and you are you only because I am I, we have a problem, right? What is the problem? Demolts, then, bin ich nicht ich, I am not I, und du bist nicht du, and you are not you. So what do we have to solve? Here goes the second half. Aber, but, ich bin ich, if I am I, weil ich bin ich, because I am I. I am I because I am I. Und du bist du, and you are you. Why? Weil du bist du, because you are you. Demot, then bin ich und du bist du. Then I am I, or I am truly I, and you are truly you. How's that for some wisdom from the Kotzker Rebbe? Okay. The next exercise was supposed to be to circle all the words that we learned. Okay, but we don't have it in the phonetics. Susie has already told me off for it, so we're going to move on to the next part of the lesson. What? I'm not going to explain it. No, I can explain it to you later. Okay. No. We'll get to it. Okay, the next one also doesn't have the phonetics, guys. All right. The good news is the next one doesn't need the phonetics. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. The next one is going to be a story. Are we ready? Ready for story time? So here's the expression of the week. We did the expression. Story time in Yiddish. Perfect time. Perfect time. Okay. Story time in Yiddish. We're going to invite Rabbi Anoka to tell the story. Come here. One second. Come here. You got to come here. You think you can just get away with that? Rabbi Anoka is going to read the story. Here's the exercise. Here's what we got to do. Rabbi Anoka is on page 11. You should be on page 12. You're going to get paid for this. Okay. All right. Before we go through the story, we have to introduce the story. Because the story introduces the city called Chelm. Raise your hand if you've heard of the story called Chelm. Okay, raise your hand if you want to introduce the city of Chelm. Anybody? Nobody. Okay, I'll introduce the city of Chelm. Menachem is, okay, sounds good. Menachem is going to introduce the city of Chelm. Menachem, tell us how did the city of Chelm come to be?
It's a real city. Very smart people in there.
Right.
But people make fun of it as the silliest people in there.
Very good.
Like out of a book of 2 million stories.
2 million. Okay, but not actually, but around 2 million, roughly. 2 million stories about film. Now, do you want to tell people how film, at least the way the production goes, how did film come to be? It was once a mama.
There was once an angel carrying a bag of very smart souls and very dumb.
Let's use the word silly. Smart souls and silly souls. Yeah, 2 bags. And what was his job?
His job was to put souls in different cities.
Every city needs some smart people and some silly people. But then what happened?
And and he was flying a little too low. And one of the bags got onto the silly bag got onto a tree and ripped. And all the silly
out came all the silly souls into one city. And where was he? Right over hell. Okay. So as you can imagine, hell becomes, yes, thank you, Menachem. Menachem's cameo. As you can imagine, hell becomes part of Yiddish. Yeah, exactly. So Yiddish, so in Yiddish culture, Chelm becomes the city, like, I don't know, like every country has like, I remember in France, we used to say about the Belgians. When I was growing up, we used to say about the Polacks. I don't know when Americans started making fun of the Polacks, right? But everybody has their, these are the silly people. So in Yiddish, it's the Chelm, the men, the wise men of Chelm. Okay? So Rabbi Anoka is now going to read for us a story in Yiddish. Okay? Now, he's going to be reading it in Yiddish, and you're going to be following along in English. So he's reading on page 11. You're following along on page 12. What I'd like you to do while we're reading this story is try and pick up any word, not even necessarily that we learned today. If you one we learned today would be great, but any word in Yiddish that you know, he's going to read it slowly. Yeah. And if you recognize any Yiddish word and you see in the translation, oh, you're like, oh, that's the word he said. That's this word. Mark it down, and we'll collect them afterwards. Sounds good? All right, Rabbi Anoka, when you're ready. Slow and loud.
A Helmer is amol gefahren in an andere Stadt. Wenn ist dort angekommen, hat gesehen, als hat vergessen sein Mantel in Stub. Hat geschickt zu sein Weib in Chelm, Brief. Eire Sora, schick mir dein Mantel, was ich hab vergessen in Stub. Ich schreib dein Mantel, weil ob ich schreib mein Mantel, wirst du lehnen mein Mantel. Wirst du lehnen mein Mantel, und dann wirst du schicken mir dein Mantel. Und was kann ich tun mit dein Mantel? Der Pfarrer schreibt ich poschet dein Mantel. Weil also wirst du lehnen dein Mantel und wirst du mir schicken mein Mantel. Sei mir gesund, dein Mann Chaim Yankel.
All right, let's hear a hand for Rabbi Anoka.
I just graduated in sports.
I just want to say his first language was not Yiddish, correct?
My English is not so well either.
Very good. Okay. Anybody pick up any word? First of all, let's read the stories. We all know what it is, right? Everybody together. A Chelmer once traveled to a different city. When he arrived there, he realized that he had forgotten his coat at home. He wrote his wife the following letter. Dear Sarah, send me your coat that I forgot at home. I'm writing your coat because if I write my coat, you'll read my coat and then you'll send me your coat. And what can I do with your coat? Therefore, I'm simply writing your coat because that way you'll read it, your coat, and then you'll send me my coat. Be well, your husband, Chaim Yankel. Anybody want to guess whether he actually got his coat? Or whose coat he got? All right. So you have some words? Ah. What is ah? Ah is A. Very good. Zayme means be well. Very good. Okay? And Chelmer means a man from Chelm or a person from Chelm. Anybody else have any other words? Coat is mantle. Very good. Did you know that word before or you picked it up? Very okay. There you go. The mantle is a coat in Yiddish. Yes, Shari. Vergessen. What does that mean? Very good. There you go. What? Yeah, but it's a different word. It means. Oh yeah, I thought it's just like a mantle. Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay, the covering. Oh, anybody else? Dina. Stub. What is stub? A house or a home? Yeah, very good. Yeah. Anybody find any other words? Yes. Sarah is Sarah. Very good. I found Chaim Yankel. Yeah, go ahead. Marilyn. Ah, we just said that one. Mantle. Mantle is coat in Yiddish. Very good. Yes. Vergessen. She said vergessen. Very good. We're collecting here. Anything else? Mir means me. No, mir means me. Mir means me. Mine is mine. Okay. Did anybody pick up what the word for your is? The name of the story. The word for your. Mine is mine, and thine is yours. Very good. Okay. Let's see if the words you found are the same words that I found. Okay, so mantle is coat. We all found that one. Did anybody see the word tayere? I thought that would be an easy word to pick up. Very good, Marie. It's the first word of the letter. Tayere Sarah means dear Sarah. So this is my Tayere Menachem. Tayere means dear. Okay. What does shtot mean? Everybody should know that one. How should we all know that one? No? Try different. What's a shtetl? Shtetl, the old shtetl means the old little city. So shtot is a city. And actually, shtot is a city like the big city, the great shtot, the big city. The kleine shtetl is the small little shtetl, the small little, hickville, if you will. So shtot means city, no matter which way you do it. And the last one, gesund, we should all know that one, no? Even from gesundheit. What does gesund mean? It means health. It's not translated properly here because when he says sei mir gesund, it means be me healthy, which means be well, right? Be healthy for me, yeah. But it basically be well. So gesund means healthy. Those are some 4 bonus words. What? Ich was in there? Okay. Yeah. Ich was in there. Very good. Ich means I. Yes, if I write my coat. Yeah. So we have mein mantel, my coat. We have dein mantel, your coat. We have a confusing story here about whose coat can end up here. All right. And with this, we will conclude our first lesson of a crash course in Mamelashon. And I look forward to seeing you all next week for lesson 2. What time is it? Hold on a second. Before we take questions, everybody satisfied with the lesson? Everybody satisfied? We haven't done a single curse. How can we be done a Yiddish lesson? Ladies and gentlemen, don't you want to hear a curse? A good Yiddish curse? All right, let's do a good Yiddish curse, shall we? What was that? Very good. I have a whole host to choose from. Trust me. Here's a great one. You ready?
Yes.
Turn to the screens. Ready? Here's how it goes. Sollst parallelen alle Zähne. Gut Zähne. Und der soll dir wehtun. You should lose all your teeth except one, and that one should ache. How's that for a Yiddish curse? And in order to end off on a good note, not on a negative note, I wish you that all your teeth should be well. They shouldn't fall out. They shouldn't ache. Everything should be good. We'll end off with a blessing, all right? All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.